Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. And now, celebrating 15 years of broadcasting, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, whether you're tuning in on the radio dial here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM or through WYADonline.com. We're glad that you all could be with us. Also, those joining us through our online affiliates around the world, including our friends at iTunes, as well as, of course, through blogtalkradio.com. We're glad you all could join us as well. I'm so excited to welcome back author Karen Keilt to our program today. Karen is someone I had a chance to interview. It's hard to believe. She and I were just talking about this some 7 years ago on this program. Well, she definitely has been through a lot during that time period. She's been able to achieve a lot and to share her amazing story in the book, The PARROT'S PERCH, which is out now for you guys to be able to read and to enjoy. I think it not only shows the resilience of the human spirit, but also what a person can achieve even in some insurmountable situations. We'll talk to Karen not only about the journey she's been on, but also what it's been like for her to see the way that people are responding to it. Karen, hello to you and welcome back to the program.
Hi, thank you so much, Cyrus. It's a pleasure to speak with you again.
Well, look, the pleasure is definitely all mine. So as I said, it's hard to believe it's been 7 years since you first appeared on this program, and you actually appeared in the pages of our magazine in 2013, Karen. I'm going to be referencing that conversation because I think it's some interesting parallels to where you are today and also what you're achieving now with the release of The PARROT'S PERCH. I mean, what has it been like for you to already see the amazing buzz that's been around this book?
Well, it has been absolutely incredible, and as you know, I had written a fictional book back in 2011, and at that point in time, I had decided to write it as fiction, and I self-published it, and I had decided to write it as fiction because I was still afraid and still worried that there might be some retaliation. And in the interim, since then, from 2011 to now, I was really, really blessed to meet a publishing group, She Writes Press, and they asked me if they could publish my story as a memoir. And so since then, I had worked on the book, and we finally got it to print. And it's, as you said, it's released now, just released today. And it's been an incredible journey.
Right. And I think I'm sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Karen. I was just going to say, and I think really it's been a journey really of faith. I mean, and that you have not given up along the way. Is that one of the things that makes this even sweeter for you, that the book is now being released, your story, your words, so that people can be able to know exactly what you went through and what you've overcome?
Absolutely. It is. It has been exactly that, and it's interesting to me because yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I think it was, we all watched Tiger Woods make a comeback and win after 11 years. And one of the sports reporters that was talking about him said, you definitely know that his motto was never give up. And I used to say that to myself from the very beginning, never give up, because I believe that this story that I have to share is not just my story, but it's something that, can help change the world, hopefully, for the better.
Right. And it's going back again, and that's the great thing about the Internet at times, Garrett, is that we're able to go backwards and to kind of see. When you and I spoke now, again, I keep saying 7 years. It cannot, I guess because we've stayed connected, it does not seem like it's been that long. But you first told me that the decision to share your story came in an interesting place. It came because of a yoga session. You had mentioned to me, and I actually want to read a bit of that because I think it's so interesting. Again, this is part of our conversation we had in the beginning. You said one day in yoga, one of my teacher's themes was about forgiveness. What she said was that forgiveness was about letting go of the hope that your past could ever be different. That resonated with me for several days. I realized that though I had gone on with my life, I hadn't forgiven and gotten past the events of my life, I knew I had to tell the story. And now, Karen, you've done just that. So when you kind of hear those words back to you as to what you said to me, I mean, how does that feel to know that you made good on that promise to yourself?
It does feel really amazingly good, because from that point forward, from that day when I heard that, and I later discovered something that you may or may not know, is that quote was actually, and my yoga teacher didn't know it either. She had heard it somewhere, and she thought it was appropriate, and she relayed it in class. But that quote was actually spoken for the first time by an author who was being interviewed on the Oprah show, which neither I or my yoga teacher knew. And I ended up looking it up afterwards, of course, because it was so powerful to me. But, yeah, it is something that I think we all learn, or hopefully learn as we go through our lives, that you have to forgive in order to be able to move past, no matter what you have going on in your life.
That's so true. And now you have been able to, by doing exactly what you've done, Karen, you've been able to inspire other people. Already, as I said, now that the book's officially available, even before today, the buzz was tremendous. People talking about the inspiring message of it. Do you feel as though you've been able to do exactly what you wanted to do by not only, of course, finding forgiveness and healing for you, but also helping other people to find that same thing?
I certainly hope so. I think that my greater mission and the bigger purpose in telling the story really is that human rights abuse happens in the United States. It happens everywhere in the world. We know about it happening in Syria and Iraq and in the Middle East and in Africa. And unfortunately, it also happens every day in Brazil, which was where I grew up. And that's basically the story, that I tell in my book. And
right.
It's something that cannot be tolerated by anyone, no matter where they are in the world. And unless people are aware that things like torture, which is what I experienced, go on every single day, and that in many countries it's even legal and sanctioned, as it is in Brazil. There's no law to prosecute torturers. I think people need to understand that, so that by raising awareness, they can be heard and say, we won't tolerate this anymore.
Right.
Too many people have suffered and continue to suffer, and it's got to stop.
And because of people like you telling your story and speaking up, that's exactly what we hope will happen, Karen. For those who are just tuning in, either on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. Karen Keilt is back with us today. We're talking with her, celebrating the release of her new book called The PARROT'S PERCH. It's out now through our friends at Amazon.com, as well as through your favorite bookstore. We'll remind you of that a little bit later. Karen, the other side of this experience is, I mentioned social media. You and I have been able to stay connected through that. But I think the other thing is that you have been able to not only to share your story, but also, I think, to show a lot of courage. Another thing that you said to me, again, when we first spoke was this: these events happen to me but don't define me. I consider myself very blessed that what happened did happen to me, and that somehow I had the strength to come through it. There's a purpose for everything. I didn't know that I could come back from what happened. Now I have the strength and ability to help people to become more aware. I'm the one who found the voice to talk about it. You are the person. You are the one that found the voice. And how does it feel to know, Karen, that your voice is being heard?
I don't take credit for that, really. I think that other people who know my story and have read about it have given me the courage to speak about it, because they have agreed that it is such an important story to share, and that it's so important that people know that these things are going on, that I don't have a choice anymore. This is not something that I'm doing it because I definitely want to see change, but I'm doing it because I believe that there is no choice. These kinds of things cannot stay covered up and hidden, and we need to acknowledge them and do whatever we can to put an end to it.
I think that's it. That's the amazing thing. Well, let me ask a question this way for you, Karen. I mean, again, as you mentioned, when you and I spoke, your story had been told in a fictionalized way. What was the most difficult thing now about owning this as your autobiography?
Oh, I was born in 1953, Cyrus, and when I was growing up, we were taught, family stuff stays in the family, bad things, you don't talk about it. There was no such thing as therapy. You just put it behind you and soldiered on and went on with your life. And nobody knew this about me because, of course, I fled Brazil and moved to the United States where I started a new life, but I never talked about it. So the hardest thing for me was actually having people look at me and say, oh, my God, you experienced this and you went through that. And, here we thought you were just a normal, person living here in the United States, an American. And so it was really difficult for me to actually confront people face to face and say, yep, that was me. But I'm through it, so I'm good. It's kind of a difficult but mixed feeling, I guess.
Right. The book opens in a powerful way, actually, Karen. At the time you're living, ironically, at a place called Carefree, right? I mean, how perfect is that?
Yeah.
And you get an email, and it's so interesting because I think this says so much. You were living in a literal place called Carefree, but you also were in a good place in your life. And
absolutely.
Talk to us about getting the email, because one of the things you say in the beginning of the book is you didn't want to open it. But what was it like for you to kind of have that disruption in your peace at that point?
Well, it was. I was just sitting at my computer, emailing back and forth with friends, and I saw this email from the Brazilian government, which, immediately shocked me, because I had no idea, what it was going to be. And the first thing that came to mind is, oh my gosh, they know that I, basically ran away, that I had taken my son from Brazil without my husband's permission. I feared the worst. Somebody's going to come get me. And so when I finally did open it and I was asked to testify at the Brazilian National Truth Commission, which was hearing depositions at the UN in New York, my second reaction was, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to revisit this. I don't want to remember the details. I don't want to go through it again. And I thought about it for a few days, and I finally said to myself that everything that I had been through, the forgiveness part, all of it, writing the first fictional story, all of it had gotten me to this place where now maybe if I testified, it would make a difference to a bigger audience, and especially to the government in Brazil. And so I was very fearful. It meant, not just talking to somebody that I didn't know, but it meant traveling with that whole purpose in mind, leaving Carefree, Arizona to go back to New York and do this, and it was terrifying. And even when I got there, I had second thoughts about going in and giving my testimony, but I did, and it was excruciating at times, and it was a huge relief at the end. And of course, my hope, as was the hope of the Truth Commission, was that Brazil would then do something similar as what South Africa had done during apartheid, because they also had, a sort of a Truth Commission, and that's what gave them their civil liberties in South Africa. And I thought, maybe this is the time. Maybe this is the time for Brazil. And so that's why I decided that, it was my duty to do it.
I think probably one of the most powerful things, and it almost feels intrusive on my part when I was reading it, Karen, was the conversation with Rick in the book, and where, like anyone who wants to protect their loved ones, the helplessness that he felt, but you're letting him know it not being his fault. How difficult was that for you to revisit?
It was very difficult because he really had not ever had an experience like I did, with the yoga moment, with forgiveness. He had just buried everything, and it was a wonderful moment, but it was very difficult for both of us. And it was also, part of me had put a lot of blame in areas that didn't belong being blamed, because quite frankly, we had no idea why the things that happened to us had happened. And so, that's something I think that when people have to admit they're wrong in any situation, it's not an easy thing, but this was a life-changing situation. And so, for him to know that I had never blamed him for anything was very important.
Well, I think, it is so powerful. And I think it's also, I think the idea of knowing that forgiveness is possible, but also healing is possible. So I have to ask you this question, Karen. I didn't ask this, when you were on the program in the past. What did you find the most difficult? Was it the healing or the forgiveness?
The forgiveness actually was easier for me. Once I realized that was something that was missing from the healing, it became, this is what I need to do to let it all go, and so I do forgive. The healing, because of the fact that I had never spoken about it, and because of the fact that it was inside me for close to 40 years eating away at me, was the hardest because it took that long. Because every time I would let it come out and think, okay, I'm going to let go of this, I would tamp it down and not think about it, push it aside, not talk about it. And then once I got that message that the forgiveness was the biggest part of healing, that was easy.
Well, it is a powerful testimony as to what's possible, Karen. Again, everyone, Karen Keilt has been our guest. She's celebrating the release of her new book, and it's one that I think you definitely is not on your reading list already. You definitely want to make sure that you add it, because I think there's so many great lessons for all of us in it. And I think, too, the other side of this, too, Karen, that I want our audience to get is that this journey that you have been on is instrumental for all of us. Maybe our situations are different, but all of us know what it's like to go through the difficulty, to go through pain, to go through heartache, and to be able to find peace on the other side. I think that is, the thing that all of us should want for ourselves, as well as I think for others. And I think too, when people read this book, they'll be able to see that. Again, the book is called PARROT'S PERCH. It's available now through our friends at Amazon.com, or of course through your favorite bookstore. Make sure you guys get it. You can get it either in print or the Kindle edition. I got both. To make it easy for myself. And Karen, how can our audience stay connected with you?
I also have a website, and it is www.theparrotsperch.com. And, of course, I have the Parrot's Perch Facebook page as well, and I certainly do encourage people to sign up at one or both, and I do stay in touch with people who have questions and are interested in either finding out more or learning how to forgive, which I think is the key.
Well, Karen, thank you so much for trusting us with this conversation, and I look forward to helping you spread the word about the Parrot's Perch and the messages there, and looking forward to having you back on soon.
Oh, thank you so much, Cyrus. I so appreciate you taking the time to speak with me.
Oh, the pleasure is definitely always mine, and we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. If you all came in late, you missed part of the conversation with Karen, don't worry. Thanks to our online friends, you all can catch the replay right as we go out to air. The link is already available through our social media site, so head over to facebook.com/CyrusWebb or go to twitter.com/CyrusWebb. If you click on the link there, you can listen to the show completely for free and share with your friends from there too. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Make sure you take out time to enjoy some good music as well as a great book. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Let's make it a great one.